they'll lynch you. But he did, and he laughs at
Hello, West Ham Network, it's Holly, and in today's Daily, we are going to be taking a look at how the introduction of one man may have just changed the way that we do business, as well as helping us to continue building the team in an area where we have really struggled in recent years. And of course, if you're new around here, make sure you hit that subscribe button so you never miss out on the content that we're putting out there. Now, going back to our transfer window, we've seen a dramatic turnaround as we went from struggling to even get rid of a player before we could begin business to improving our side dramatically. And I'm always one to say that we shouldn't judge a transfer window until it's closed. But I can't lie, I really started to panic. And I know from the comments as well that a lot of you also felt exactly the same. Now, before we get started, we're going to run through a timeline of our transfer business. So on the 14th of June, the transfer window closed. Sorry, the transfer window opened on the 14th of June. Ignore me. We had just won a European trophy and we thought that we had the money coming from the rice sale and we were really excited to see what we could achieve. Then on the 1st of July, West Ham announced the appointment of Tim Steidten as the new club's technical director. This was huge news and we're going to be looking at Tim Steidten's work in a little more detail shortly, but hopes were incredibly high, to put things nicely. However, we then had a really long spell of absolutely nothing happening while we basically watched other clubs strengthen their sides. In fact, we actually went on to become the last Premier League side to make a signing, while also having plenty of players leave. And at the time, this felt very worrying. However, we now realise that this was all just part of the master plan and we didn't need to worry after all. So it took until the 14th of July for the Rice deal to go through, meaning it took an entire month from the opening of the transfer window for him to leave and free up the money at last. But then we had the money. So at this point, the pressure was on. And again, there didn't seem to be much activity getting close. Then Ajax went on to hijack the signing of Borges, which was the one thing that was happening in the background that had kind of been said that it was pretty much certainly happening. So we were back to square one as far as we were all concerned. But here is where the fun bit started. It turned out that we just needed a little bit more time for the negotiations to reach the next stage. From behind the scenes, Tim was working his magic. On the 10th of August, 25-year-old Edson Alvarez joined on a permanent contract until June 2028. Then just 4 days later, West Ham announced the signing of the incredible James Ward-Prowse. Loving his work so far. On the 22nd of August, West Ham signed centre-back Konstantinos Mavropanos. And then on the 27th of August, we beat competition from top European sides to sign Mohamed Kudus from Ajax. Now, this was a huge one. Obviously, we'd lost Borges to Ajax earlier in the window. So we had a lot of competition for Kudus, obviously a very talented player, but it also shows the actual ambition that we have. And alongside the other signings that we're bringing in, it shows that we mean business and we want to grow and we want to grow as a team, which might make us more desirable moving forward to other players that we're trying to bring in. So bringing in some very talented people, but essentially in the space of 17 days, we have done the most incredible pieces of business. And I've been excited about every single player that we've actually brought in. There haven't really been any, obviously there've been a few names. I say a few names. We've been linked with a lot of names, but the ones that I've actually been most fussed with us bringing in, we've actually managed to do that, which is mad. We also still have 3 days left of the transfer window before it closes on the 1st of September. And we are expected to be looking at new additions to replace some potential players that may leave. If you haven't already, check out Russ's video from this morning where he talks through the homegrown talent rules and what this could actually mean for our squad. It's definitely an interesting one, as it's not a problem that we've really faced massively before. And there are some really interesting rules that we have to make sure we follow, particularly if we lose homegrown talent, for example, the likes of Cresswell or Antonio. But we cannot talk more about this transfer window without speaking about the man, the myth, the legend that is Tim Steidten in some more detail. It's impossible to not attribute a lot of our success this transfer window to this wonderful man. And I never thought I would be so happy to see a picture of a guy on a plane. We know what it means now as well, because he's been flying all over the world and he basically doesn't return home until he's got the player back on his plane with him. He just goes, he collects them, he comes back and he brings them to West Ham. Incredible. So when he joined, the club said that Steidten would be responsible for the club's player recruitment strategy and scouting department, working closely with manager David Moyes and sporting director Mark Noble. Now, for a while, it looked as though we were in a right mess because rumours came out that Moyes and Steidten had completely different ideas of the types of players that they wanted, saying that Steidten wanted to kind of find these untapped talents, whereas Moyes wanted Premier League proven players. And because they had this opinion difference, it caused a lot of alarm at the time, especially when we were obviously so far into the transfer window and not much was happening. However, it now looks most likely that it was all okay behind the scenes and that they both had their own ideas already, as you'd hope that they would. And it was just a matter of working closely together to identify the best targets and working out the best ways to negotiate with these players and then get them to sign on the dotted line. That's exactly what we managed to do. So before he joined, Steidten was responsible for overseeing a key period at Werder Bremen in 2019, where he famously used this data-led approach to look at players and scout a number of relatively unknown people before helping them to improve and then watching them grow into very talented players. He then had a very similar role with Bayer Leverkusen in Germany to what he's doing at West Ham. So he's no stranger to the way that he's having to work at the moment. So when we brought him on board, he was already known for his abilities. And the idea was that he would be able to help strengthen our team and bring us to the next level in terms of recruitment, which, as we know, is something that we have struggled with massively over the years. And this setup, it seems to be working, dare I say it, with Steidten going out to meet players in their teams. And we really have heard amazing things with the likes of Kudus's team saying that they were really impressed with what Steidten had to say, which was one of the things that really stood out to me, and that they then hoped the player would feel the same. So he's winning people over and he's actually winning teams over to push their talent to head our way, which is amazing. So it basically suggests that the way that he's representing the club is making a real difference. And it's obviously making us look a lot more serious than a phone call or a video call or whatever we would have previously done would have worked. So Mark Noble then plays a significant role once Steidten's done his job in helping players settle and understand the importance of playing for the club. And Moyes is now being able to fit these players into our lineup pretty quickly as soon as they're ready, because they are all signings that make sense and they play in positions that we need. And there's been loads of comments obviously over the previous seasons of Moyes taking ages to actually introduce players, but we haven't actually seen that this window. And is it because we are literally signing the perfect people that are all ready and are actually proving themselves from the offset? It does appear that that may be having an impact. Now, it's a real difference from previous transfer windows, and it's meaning that everyone has their own role as well as working together quite seamlessly at the moment. Essentially, Steidten can go out and make business happen, Nobes can force a bit of East London spirit into them, and Moyes can focus on managing the team now that the season has started. And most importantly, while I'm sure Steidten has ideas and already had ideas and players in mind that he thought would be a great fit before he arrived, think what he could actually achieve at West Ham with more time and with everyone having even more trust in his abilities once he's proven himself. So January is never an easy transfer window, but if anyone can help us to strengthen the side next window there, I have faith in Tim, and I can't wait to see what he can do next summer as well. Just imagine Tim Steidten working behind the scenes for another year on who we target, why we target them, the approach that we take. We might even find ourselves doing business really early in a transfer window, which we're not familiar with. And if we've got solid performances in the league and obviously in Europe, fingers crossed, to back up our transfer strategy, I think we could really, really do some damage and start, like everyone said, the whole point of bringing Steidten in was to bring the club to the next level. I think this has been a massive part that's been holding us back. I did a video a couple of weeks ago that even our failure to sign a striker that fitted into our system has caused us to waste so much money, to get in trouble FFP-wise. Like, there's so many downsides of having these struggles bringing in new players. If we can switch that around and switch it around as quickly as we currently are, this could genuinely be a massive, massive hurdle that we've overcome. So basically, this was just a Tim Steidten appreciation video. Just wanted to get it all out there. So let us know in the comments how you're feeling about Tim and whether he has exceeded your expectations or not. Because when he joined, a lot of us were like, oh, okay, strategy behind our signings. But did you think he could do this? I definitely didn't think that we would see him going out on planes and bringing back multiple players back to back to back so quickly. Apparently he's out in another country on another plane at the moment trying to find us someone. So I think it's Yuri Alberto is his next target. But as we know, he doesn't really come back without the players. So let's see if we can get that one in as well. Anyway, that is all from me for today. Thank you so much for watching, as always. And make sure you join me later today for your Hammers headlines. Make sure you join us as well on Friday, because on Friday, it is the day of all days. We've got the Europa League draw, we've got deadline day coverage, and we've got Luton versus West Ham build-up content. post-show stuff all throughout the day. It's certainly going to be one to watch, so keep an eye out for that as well. There's so much coming up. So as I said, please do subscribe if you haven't already, because we would love you to be notified whenever we put any content out there. But have a great day, and until next time, come on you Irons.